This is episode 18 with Scott Hamilton.
So let's go, I'll follow, wherever you go, 'cause
In a world of hustle, distraction, and busyness, Live Your Days is a call to present-ness. It's about embracing the fact that we don't control the number of days we have on this earth. We only control what we do with them. It's a challenge to decide what living means to you. It's a call to live, truly live each day.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Inventions show, where entrepreneurs, leaders, and authorities in their field today share their story of triumphs and challenges in both life and business. My name is Tacklee, entrepreneur, investor, inventor, and the host of this show. Now, today's guest is simply inspirational, with a compelling story to match, and I'm very excited to be speaking with him. Scott Hamilton, easily the most recognized male figure skating star in the world and an Olympic gold medalist. Now, Scott has won over 70 titles, awards, and honors, including an Emmy Award nomination. He's also a husband, a dad, producer, speaker, philanthropist, best-selling author, plus much, much more. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Scott, and thanks so much for being with us.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I've been in Melbourne in, let me think, it's been 38 years.
Wow!
So that was
time.
Yeah, way before you were born. So yeah, it was a long time ago, but man, I loved it there. I love the people. I love the life. I love the energy. I just love everything about Australia.
Awesome. And it's a pleasure having you on the show, Scott. Now, the first thing I like to ask all my guests is, for those who are not too familiar with yourself, can you please give us a background into, who you are and what was your first job?
Well, I was adopted at 6 weeks of age, going all the way back. So identity is kind of unique with that. I'm trying to, reconcile all that. So I had a childhood illness. It kept me in and out of hospitals for 4 years. I started skating, and my health improved. I lost a lot, failed a lot, made a lot of really bad, very public mistakes in my skating life. And then I woke up. I lost my mother to cancer, and I knew that I needed to be more the person that she thought I could be, or that in her eyes I was. Mm-hmm. And so I just pretty much put my head down and just tried to honor her in every aspect of, especially my skating life. Yep. And, the results followed. It's really amazing. Wow. So my first job was delivering pizzas, of which I got fired because the guy that owned the pizza place, it was a great job to have because tips were insane. And I was an amateur athlete at the time, so I couldn't really make any money skating. Yeah. So I delivered pizzas in Philadelphia, which is really complex. Like, all the streets were formerly cow paths, I think. And so they don't really make sense. So I got lost a lot, and I delivered a lot of cold pizzas, but that wasn't the problem. I had to leave on a weekend to go to Japan for a competition. Wow. And the owner of I was the alternate, and the person that was assigned to the competition pulled out. And the owner of the pizza place did not believe me. I said, well, okay, I'm really sorry, but I'm alternate for a thing in Japan. He's like, I've heard a lot of excuses before, but never Japan. Yeah. And so he goes, get out, you're fired. I never want to see you again. And that year I made it to the Olympics. Wow. And after I made it to the Olympics, he goes, you can have your job back anytime you want it. And I was like, okay, well, let me think about that, because I'm still an amateur athlete. I still need to put gas in the car. But so the first real job I ever had was ice capades. I won the Olympics and completed a 4-year cycle where I never lost a competition. And
awesome.
So it was kind of like a run. Like I still look back on that and it's like, how did that happen? And so at the end, I came out of the Olympics. I had a lot of momentum over those 4 years. I built a lot of interest in my skating, and then I joined the Ice Capades, and I vowed that I would never miss a show. I would always skate at the top of my game, and I would never miss an opportunity to promote the show.
Mm-hmm.
And the president of Ice Capades said, yeah, sure. Yeah, okay. Yeah, right. Yeah, everybody says that, but nobody does it.
Yeah.
And so I had a 2-year contract with a 3rd-year option.
Mm-hmm.
And I was excited, I'm going to get my option. I'm just going to like put my head down, get to work, and I'm going to get my option. So at the end of the 2 years, I got wind that Ice Capades was going through a sale. We were going to have a new owner.
Okay.
And so I just completed 2 years of like really crushing it and like being at the top of my game. And the president of Ice Capades came to my last show. And I always tell this story this way. If anyone ever puts their arm around you and starts to walk, it's never good. Right? You know, so he goes,
what are you up to?
It's like, okay, this is my arm around. Okay, this is kind of like doing the arm around the thing, and we're walking, and it's like, okay, that's never really been good. But I've never missed a show, and I've even took over shows for injured athletes, and I've been like a model employee. I'm going to get my 3rd-year option. And so the president of Ice Capade said, you did it. You skated great. You never missed a show. You never missed an opportunity to promote the show. And I didn't believe you could do it, but you did it. And I'm waiting for my 3rd-year option. And he goes, well, we're going through a sale, right? And I go, yeah, I heard about that. And I'm really excited to meet the new owner. And he said, well, he doesn't really want to meet you. And I was taken aback, and I go, why? And he said, well, he only wants to present female stars.
Oh, okay.
So it was true sexual discrimination in the workplace.
It's it is. Yeah.
So I was very distraught. I met up with my manager, and he said, do you want to help us start a brand new tour? Yeah. And I just, very, in a funny way, said, let me check my schedule. Like, I have nothing. And so he said, we really want to build a figure skating tour. We think there's enough skating stars out there to do this. And so I came up with I had enough experience, so I paid attention to lighting and sound and set and all of the theatrical components that it would take to make a really cool tour. And I also knew how I wanted to structure it. And so we did 5 cities as kind of a prototype, and then we did 5 more in a really kind of exhibition way. So we did one with theatrical lighting and just really painting a picture and really doing all these things that I really put a lot of thought and creativity into. Yeah. And then they did another one leading into the World Professional Figure Skating Championships. That was house lights.
Okay.
And barriers, and it was awful. And so they kind of gave me the green light go to put a team together to produce the show. Yeah. And so we launched the next year fully. Dorothy Hamill came on board to be our star, and she brought with her a whole choreographic group, and we had like phenomenal skaters. And from there, it went like this, kind of like that. And then Christy Yamaguchi won the Olympics, and it went like that. So 6 years, we were really working hard and just trying to build an audience and do it, kind of old school, show up every day, come into a city, hit the ground running, sell, do all the news, do whatever you have to do, promote. And after 6 years, we were pretty much making a little bit of money on a 30-city tour. Yeah. And then Christy Yamaguchi won the Olympics and saw what we were doing and said, I don't want to go anywhere but Stars on Ice. Nice. And so build it and they will come. And so, we went to 60 cities immediately, and we just started selling out buildings all over the country. It was, and then Canada, we would do 60 in the United States and 12 in Canada. And every year more people saw what we were doing and wanted to jump on board. And to this day, Stars and Ice still exists long after I've gone. So it's a kind of a nice legacy piece.
No, it is fascinating story. Love it. Absolutely love it. Now, Scott, what got you into figure skating, and have you always been so good?
No, no, it was like, I'll allude back to what I said earlier about my loser days. No, it was one of those things where I was very sick. I was in and out of
Okay.
hospitals for 4 years. And then to give my parents a morning off, I went to learn to skate classes at a brand new facility at Bowling Green State University in Ohio. They wanted to have classes for the students and a hockey team to, because they figured they could do well in hockey quickly because
Yep.
it wasn't super broad like
Mhm.
football or something like that. And so on Saturday mornings from 8 to noon, they would do learn to skate classes for the kids that lived in the city. And so to give my parents a morning off to recharge their batteries
Mhm.
after a really stressful 4 years,
Yep.
I started skating and on Saturday mornings. And it was one of those things where I was around 120 or so well kids, which I
Mhm.
was used to being around sick kids. So it was kind of like I knew I was different. And then I started, like, after a few weeks, I looked around and I was skating as well as the well kids. And I was
Mhm.
like, what? And then after a few more weeks, I realized I was skating as well as the best athletes in my grade.
Wow.
And it was the real first solid taste of self-esteem. And
Yep.
from then on, my parents had to threaten me to get me off the ice. I couldn't get enough. But I
Awesome.
didn't
Awesome.
do so well. I liked what I liked, and I didn't like what I didn't like, right? So
Okay.
I would work really hard at all the show offy stuff, and I'd try to learn
You
all
have
the
to.
show moves and
Yep.
try to because figure skating is a sport of showing off,
Mm.
right? But there's also a discipline part, which is the figure eights, right? The compulsory figures. And they were a big part of the competition back then. And I didn't like the silence and the solitude and the discipline of compulsory figures.
Yep.
So I didn't like them and they didn't like me back. It was just, and I'd fail a lot of tests and I'd be embarrassed and it was just awful. And then I'd pass the test just in time to be able to compete at that level that particular competitive season.
Mhm.
And so, first nationals, I fell 5 times
Okay.
in front of 17,000 people, and I
Ooh.
came in dead last, which is
Yep.
kind of a really solid emotional scar to this
Hmm.
day. I look
That's
back on that, and I joke that I rose to the occasion 5 times. I had to get up 5 times.
Yeah.
And so then I was kind of always at the bottom at nationals. And then my mom was diagnosed with cancer. And then that first year she was diagnosed, it was basically going to be my last year in skating because my parents were broke.
Mhm.
And my main coach retired, a new coach came in, and I decided, like, maybe I'm not working hard enough. I'll just submit and I'll go all in. I'll just see what happens. And I ended up going from ninth at novice, 7th in junior, 1st in junior. And so because I had a great season that year that I won the junior nationals,
Yeah.
I caught the eye of a coach who was that year coaching Dorothy Hamill to an Olympic gold medal. And he had a
Mhm.
sponsor. And so my parents were like, okay, this will work. You go
Yeah.
to Denver and have fun and work hard. And of course I didn't. I turned 18 and
Yes.
I call it the trifecta. I was sponsored, I had my own apartment, and I turned 18. Yeah, it's
Yeah. It's
kind of like it's
like.
the trifecta. So I was horrible that year. I came in 9th again at nationals, and it was humiliating. And that would be the last time my mom would ever see me skate in competition.
Okay.
And so when she died, I woke up and I said,
Hmm.
time to like be who she wanted you to be and who she saw you to be.
Yeah.
And from there, results just changed because I took to the ice differently. Like for a lot of young people, especially now that we've got smartphones, everything
Yeah.
is like, really instant gratification, and the
Yep.
world is at their fingertips, and the screens are really
Most
sexy and they're
definitely. Yeah.
really kind of hypnotic and addictive. And
Mhm.
and to be able to kind of wrap your head around the long haul, like
Mhm.
showing up every day with the intention of going that much further forward, and then allowing that to really just build, like building muscle,
Yeah.
building understanding, intelligence, building
Mm.
competitive mindsets, building like that inner kind of desire that makes you want to just go out and I don't know, conquer the world.
Yes,
it's like,
most
no,
definitely.
I can get anything I want right now, right here. And look at that. John's got a new car. Oh, wow. Oh, look at that. Something terrible happened on the other side of the world. It's like, no, it's like, come here, right here.
Yep,
Focus,
snap out of it. Yeah.
And, it's like I've tried to put my kids in front of, as many people as I can that just said, well, the reason they were successful in country music is because they had to figure out that chord and to hit it every single time. They had to figure out how to construct a song that would have a strong enough hook that people would want to listen to it time and time again. Or a woman, 92 years old last summer, not this past summer, the summer before, who she and her husband built this. It started with an orchard and it became an empire.
Yep.
And she just gave my kids a master class in what it takes in order to be massively successful. When I do a lot of my speeches, especially based on my book Finish First, I use examples of people that really came from either modest or horrific backgrounds and became massively successful. I mean, you look back on somebody he's a 16-year-old boy wanted to build a magazine called Student, built it.
Yes.
And then he saw, whoa, yeah. So he's got a lot of people reading his magazine. So he decides to build a little music subscription part of that, which became brick and mortar stores, which became healthcare, airlines, now space, Richard Branson. But he started with nothing.
Yes.
Same with, Michael Bloomberg started with nothing. Started with less than nothing was Oprah Winfrey. And I use these examples just saying they showed up every day and they saw something that was unique about themselves where they could like plug into the world and now create a little piece for themselves that's magnificent, right?
Yes, most definitely.
The last I checked, there's 7.5 billion people on the planet right now, 7.7 billion.
Yep.
There's no two alike, which means we're all part of the tapestry. And what part do we want to be, right?
Yep, most definitely, most definitely. That is just fascinating, Scott, which leads me to, I want to talk about Live Your Days. Your online platform's called the Being Present. Now, I absolutely love what you're doing and your quote, we don't control the number of days we have on this earth. We only control what we do with them. And I think it was in one of your challenges as well. And that really got me thinking. Can you please share, with our listeners and viewers, what Live Your Days is about, and what's your vision there?
It came out of my third brain tumor diagnosis. I call it my unique hobby of collecting life-threatening illness. But it was like the third one, and the first one was radiation, but it was the biopsy. It was really kind of scary and that ignited my faith. And then the second one was surgery, where there's a certain small single-digit percentage of people that have complications from the surgery. I did. Ooh, so that one surgery became 9, and it allowed me to understand how resilient I can be, right? Lord willing. And then when it was diagnosed again 4 years later or 6 years later, it was like, okay, wait, this is something about this that's really remarkable. And the doctors were all like giving me options of how to deal with them. It was like blah 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 blah. All I kept, like, in the back of my mind, all I heard was get strong. It's kind of like that Field of Dreams moment.
Yes.
It's like, build it and they will come.
Yep.
And it's like, no, it's like, get strong. And it was like, get strong. It's like, what do you mean get strong? And they're still telling me, we can do surgery, or we can there's a medical option, yes. Here's the side effects, and the side effects, when they give you those, it's like at the end of the commercial.
It just goes past.
But it's like, if they have to go that fast, that means there's a lot of them, right?
Yes.
So I'm going, you know what, guys, I think I just really want to get strong. And they go, what does that mean? I go, I have no idea. And so I didn't know if it was physical or emotional or intellectual or
Mm-hmm.
spiritual. So I chose E, all the above. And
Oh,
since I made
yep.
that choice, it's amazing how the tumor has shrunk on its own, grown, shrunk, grown, shrunk,
Mm-hmm.
grown. And I've been able to avoid treatment for the last 4 years. And
Awesome.
when it was first diagnosed, it's like, okay, we have to get the information out, because I'm a public person, I guess. And so I said, I don't want to do weird stuff with this. Let's just do one interview, just one.
Yeah.
And so I went to New York and I did an
Mm-hmm.
interview with people.com.
Yep.
And I was very upbeat. It was like, oh, I don't worry about stuff like that. I mean, I've been through it a couple times before. It's the devil I know now. It's not the
Yep.
devil I don't know. And I kind of got through the last one, which was awful. So I could probably, this one, it's still early. So I got some, time to think about it. And so we did this interview with them and they go, well, what are you going to say to your kids? It was kind of the drama, right?
Yes.
And I go, dun,
Dun, dun, yes.
dun. And I go, well, when I get home, my son's going to look at me and he's going to say, Dad, is your brain tumor back? And I'm going to say, yes, it is. It is. And yeah, do I look worried? And he's going to go, no. And I'm going to go, exactly. Neither should you be. Because that's how my mom told us she had cancer.
That is so powerful. Yep.
And it was just that. And so I just talked about, look, I've been around enough to know, and the whole kind of the seeds for Live Your Days were planted there, where I said, our bodies are incredibly vulnerable and fragile to so many things. But they're also phenomenally resilient.
Yes.
But ultimately temporary, right? So knowing that, now what are we going to do with this life? Are we going to just sort of like let the wind take us where it does and sort of coast through everything? Or are we going to kind of go, these are my days, and this is not a rehearsal. This is the performance, right?
Yep.
So knowing that today's one of my days, what am I going to do with it? Because I only have so many, and it's not I'm an incredibly optimistic person, even like through all the craziness that I've lived through. But and I think it's because of that optimism I've been able to, kind of rise above certain conditions. It's funny. It reminds me of a crazy story. There was, when I was growing up, there was this personality in the United States named Art Linkletter. He invented Kids Say the Darndest Things. And I'd watch that show all the time, and he was bigger than life to me, right? So I go through this whole Olympic period, and I go through my professional skating thing, and I'm kind of now doing corporate speaking, and I'm on a shuttle bus, and I look, and Art Linkletter is sitting on the same bus with me. I mean, come on,
Really?
I've got to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
I want to meet this guy that I idolized when I was little growing up.
Yeah.
So I went up to him and I said, Mr. Linkletter, and he was just charming. He goes, yes. And I go, I just really want to meet you. I've been a big fan of yours all along. And he goes, are you Scott? And I was like, I was totally like knocked down, because it was like, he knows who I am. No way. And I go, yes, sir. And he goes, oh, I know you. You've endured so much, right? Didn't you have a childhood illness? And now I'm just collapsing under this experience. I go, yes, sir. And he goes, oh, and you had cancer too, right? And I go, yes, sir. And he goes, and you balded publicly. I go, well, yes, I did that too. I didn't know that was some sort of, disability, but okay. So, it's like that. It's like, we choose, right? It's like, there's only one of you, and there'll only be one of you ever. And there's only one of me, and there's only going to be one of me ever. And for anybody watching, it's the same thing. They're the only one of them ever. They have something unique. They have something remarkable, and they have some choices that they're going to make that's going to allow them to rise above their circumstances and live joyfully, productively, happily, and abundantly. But it just comes down to the choice. It's just like, I know that I just got dumped in that relationship, but I'm moving forward. I know that, I lost my job, but I'll find a better one. I know that, there's a lot on me right now, but this is the stuff that makes us who we are, right? So
yes, most
I just
definitely.
want that for everybody to know that no matter what their condition, no matter where they are in their lives, it's a choice. Everything is a choice. You move forward in optimism and joy and opportunity. And my wife said something really remarkable. Whenever I'd go in for like an MRI for my noggin nugget, I would say, no matter what I hear, no matter what the result, I'm going to face it joyfully. That's my swing thought every single time. And so an interviewer was interviewing my wife, and I was kind of tucked around the corner to listen to what, because she doesn't do many interviews at all.
Yeah.
And they asked her, they go, now, Scott says he faces each MRI joyfully. Come on, really? And she goes, yeah, really. Because she said, joy isn't the lack of fear and suffering. It's how you go through it. And it's like, that's why I married her right there. She gets it. She gets it in really amazing ways that where other people get crushed, and the second brain tumor was hard on both of us. And maybe that's the reason it didn't go so well, who knows? Yeah. But it just comes down to, I've chosen to be productive in my days. I've chosen to rise above my loser years and, the embarrassment. I've gotten, I figured when I wrote Finish First, my last book, I had to estimate how many times I'd fallen down on the ice.
Yeah.
And the minimum was, which the number we decided on was 41,600 times. So you think about falling down 41,600 times, and then you think, but I got up 41,600 times. And when you get up 41,600 times, the fall takes on a different identity, And so, I look at so much of, failure as information. I don't look at it as a scarring, humiliating, terrible event, because I've seen both sides of it. If I hadn't have failed so horrifically my first year in novice at nationals, it's like, I'm not afraid of that. I'm still here. It's like, I fell in front of 17,000 people 5 times. Like, it's a 3-minute program. How does anybody have time to fall down 5 times in 3 minutes? It was awful. But I look back on that now and I go, that was important. That was really important. And it's the same thing when you talk to a lot of people in business, or you talk to a lot of people that have risen above really tough stuff. It's like, no, that was important.
No,
that failure, that period, that season was really important. And that's how I want people to choose this. And so Live Your Days came out of, the whole idea of, I'm fragile, resilient, temporary. And, we talk about building the foundation of our lives on 4 pillars. And I talked about that before, the physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. And if you were to take those 4 legs on a chair, right? Because we're like, that's where we're seated right now in this life, is on those 4 legs of the chair. If any one of those is missing, we're probably going to fall down.
A bit wobbly.
So I really just encourage all people, really understand, just who you are physically. If you need to take on more activity, if you need to change your diet, do it. Emotionally, we deserve to feel good about ourselves, because we're the only one of us in the history of the world ever. And then on the intellectual side, be interested. Be interested and learn and grow and listen to other people's positions and really just sort of fortify yourself. If you're interested in travel, read. If you're interested in technology, just start touching things and using things and learning about it. And it's all of that. And then on the spiritual side, I've lived long enough to feel the Lord's presence on so many occasions. And I know it's real. I know it's true. And so many people, I meet, they just go, no, it's not for me. And I go, you have no idea the strength, the power, the joy, and just the hope that comes with a relationship with Jesus Christ. And without that, our lives are incomplete. And so
true,
you know,
so true.
yeah.
No, totally incredible. Take note of that one, viewers and listeners. I'll highly recommend that you rewind and re-listen to it. Now, Scott, just with Live Your Days, how can people get involved? You know, I mean, I've signed up for the 30-day challenge and I absolutely love it. You know, it's so quick. It's fun, and it's not like a dragged out type of thing. It's like bang, 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 bang. So how can people get involved?
Well, and that's it. It's just going to liveyourdays.com and, really just signing up for the 30-day challenge. We have a podcast that's part of that where we talk to familiar people, maybe. I don't know how, American personalities or, musicians or comedians or athletes in Australia. I bet Christy Yamaguchi because she won the Olympic Games. And Robin Roberts is a news personality here and amazing. And just hearing her story and just going through from start to finish and how she built her life and how she rose above cancer and all these things that really allow people to see a little bit behind the curtain. Like this is what people are really like. And they all kind of share the same hopes and fears and dreams and we all want to be validated. We all want to be given opportunity to live our lives productively and abundantly. And when you hear these stories of these, different people that we've spoken to, it's Robin Roberts rose above cancer, and then another about health thing that was from her treatment. And now she talks about thrivership. We talked to a friend of mine, Marcus Whitney, who's an entrepreneur who had nothing, and he had to figure it out fast because he had one child and another on the way, and he was waiting tables, and he knew that wasn't going to cut it. And now he's in healthcare, and he's like a massive entrepreneur. He's amazing. And then talking to like Bart Millard of the Christian band Mercy Me, if you saw the movie, I can only imagine. It's like his dad was a monster, and he came from a broken home, and as just child abuse. He was a victim of child abuse. He feared and hated his father, but through the redemption of, just his father being redeemed by Jesus through pancreatic cancer, they were able to mend their relationship. And Bart says that this man that I feared and hated is the man I wanted to become someday. And it's hearing these stories that they just make your throat thick, and they just allow you to say, okay. And then Kevin Nealon is a comedian. He's done a lot of sitcoms and movies with Adam Sandler. And he's just like, I wanted to be a comedian. I had no idea how to do it. So I got a job at the Improv, tending bar. Didn't know how to attend bar either. So it's just, so listening to these stories, signing up for the 30-day challenge, which is really fun. We'll never tell anybody, okay, today we're going to run a marathon. No, it's nothing like that at all. It's a short message of hope and positivity that leads you into a very small activity that allows you to take stock of or to, do something that maybe you've been putting off, like something simple, like calling a friend, something simple, like me taking something off my wife's plate today, or another friend who may be incapacitated. I could bring them a meal or something simple like that. But, my favorite one, is right out of the gate, the first day, name 3 things you're most grateful for and why. Oh man, it's just like it puts you into that headspace where there's good things, there's good stuff happening here, and now I can build on that. And so, during COVID and all the lockdowns and all the quarantines and all the sickness and all the fear and all of the, just the hostility that's been around all this thing, Live Your Days was actually invented out of my brain tumor diagnosis 4 years ago. And I just said, doesn't feel right. And then the second month of COVID, the people I was working with reached out and said, now. And I said, now we need to do this now, because people need encouragement and they need to understand who they are and what they're about now more than ever. And so, we created, I call it a digital encouragement platform. And again, I just do it. We have a store as part of that, which is, got some pretty
Yes.
fun merch, and some of the proceeds of the merch goes directly towards cancer research and my
Yep.
foundation. And we really want Live Your Days to be pure in its mission and to have, an effect long after
Yep.
people have, visited the site and, gone back into their lives. Or I want to do another 30-day challenge because the last one was so much fun. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
just do it again,
Yeah.
and with a
365.
fresh set of,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's just a little breath of fresh air
No, most
during a
definitely. Yes.
very toxic time in our world.
Now, I'll most definitely put some links to Live Your Days at the end and in the show notes, and also your CARES Foundation as well. That's totally awesome stuff.
Thank
So,
you.
Scott, how do you live your day? I mean, how do you define happiness?
For me, it's like I've seen my kids grow fast, rapidly, and so for me, it's family now. I've slayed a lot of dragons professionally, and I've had a lot of success that I never could have even thought to dream. When my oldest birth child was born, I'm doing a show in New York City, and it's like, what am I doing here? I want to be home now. And so after a 20-year professional career, of which I thought I'd get 2 to 4 if I was schooling a lot of people, at 20, man, I milked that cow dry. There wasn't anything left in the cow. So, I kind of just went home, and I just decided that I wanted to see his first steps and hear his first words and be there. And now, we had another birth child miraculously. It was after brain tumor number 1, going into brain tumor number 2. And he's, 12 now and busy and playing soccer right now. I'm missing his game. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Scott.
No, it's all right. No, he wasn't going to play the first game anyway. So no, he wasn't playing the first game, so it's all good. But it's just that it's family, and it's understanding the blessing that comes with really helping your children navigate, so much of the things in their lives, and trying to introduce them to things that will really give them health and love and joy and identity, and to really celebrate that.
Awesome. Now, your achievements to date, is simply incredible. I mean, you're a dad to 4, I believe, best-selling author. You released a children's book earlier this year as well, Fritzy Finds a Hat, which I believe you sort of, in honor of your mum. And you sort of talked about kids a little bit as well. So with what's going on in the world, the environment, everything kids go through, what's your view on how to raise resilient kids, and how do you instill that message in them?
Well, I think a lot of it is, you lead by example. I'm never going to tell my kids to do something I'm not willing to do myself.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell my kids, you can't do this if I'm doing it. Yeah. So, little examples like, for my children, I go, have you ever seen me take a drink? And they go, no. And it's like, okay, how important is it? All right. Have you ever heard me utter a 4-letter word? Yeah. Well, maybe once. And, it's like, yeah, but that was when I got really badly hurt. No. But it's like that. It's like, I make my bed in the morning. I put my things away because I want to lead by example, right? And so there's so much in the world right now where people are looking for, example. They're looking for, how am I doing, or what's cool, or what would really bring me, how can I be a part of this, or be looked upon by my peers as X, Y, or Z, right? Yeah. And so much of it is just temporal, it's like, this year, it's this, and 2 months it'll be something else. It's like, really try to figure out going after things that have lasting power, things that will build you up and take you to the next place. And like again, I go back to the phones. It's like, the social media, it's like, and it's like, I'm really glad that people are listening to more and doing more podcasts, because it's long form information, and it teaches them to sit down and listen to a whole story and the arc of of someone's experience, or something that's really topical that they can really nourish themselves with. But it's just, again, a lot of. I was at a conference yesterday, and they were talking to a psychiatrist, and they said, if you ruled the world, what would be your first action? And he said, I would eliminate social media forever. It's like the whole place erupted. Then they went right there and they posted it. It was like, so it's that. It's like, we just got to get our young people into understanding that, how you spend your time, you want it to mean something. Yes. And you want it to lead into the next something. You want to, so when I'll go back a little bit to when my oldest first son was like 10 years old. He wanted to go to all these movies because, all my friends. And I just tell him, I said, buddy, it's like my most important job right now is to protect your right to be 10 years old. And he was like, yeah, but it's so fun being 10. You'll regret not being 10, it's like when you're 16, it's like, man, I wish I was still 10, I can do all these things. And it's like that. It's like, we're always projecting forward, it's like, but we want to be prepared for the next. We want to be, just take this time, it's like I joke with people. I say, I figured out the 50s. When you're in your 50s, and they're like, really? And I go, yeah. Okay, here's the secret to being in your 50s. It's like when you get up in the morning, that may be as good as you feel for the rest of your life. So take advantage of it. It's like that. So but it is for our young people. They've got to understand that, they have identity, they have purpose, they have a voice, they have things where they don't need to necessarily get caught up into all the things that are wrong in the world. It's like those things, it's like the old Billy Joel song, We Didn't Start the Fire. There's always going to be tension and animosity in our world. It's like, no, we've got to really shore up our little corner of the world and really be the best versions of ourselves that we can possibly be. And in doing that, it's like, Mother Teresa, I think she said, the only way to truly change the world is to love the person standing directly in front of you. And when you think about that, we can't solve these big global issues, and all these different things, but we can have interaction, human interaction that allows us to grow and allows us to be I don't know, maybe more in touch or more alive than we were before that interaction, and to be intentional about it.
Awesome. Now, just going back and touching on your trifecta, Scott, if you could go back and talk to your 18-year-old self or younger, what would you tell him?
Shame on you. Come on, you've been given this opportunity and you're wasting it. No, I think for me, it's that whole where I was. I was a product of my previous experiences. I was the youngest one at that training facility I was in before I went to Colorado. Yeah. I was like 14. I was with 21-year-olds, and it was just like, I wouldn't ever do that to my kids. I wouldn't, my parents didn't know. They were just operating. This is a good training place, and we don't know anything about sports, so we're just going to do that. Yeah. And, like my son said, if I got really good at soccer, would you send me away to an academy? I go, not until you're at least 16 or 17 years old. Oh, that's too late. I go, well, I don't want to, I'm selfish. I don't want to lose that time with you. Plus, those years are so important that you're with, parental authority, or you're with someone that's going to mentor you or look after you in a really specific way. And parents do that better than anyone else. Those adolescent years are always this, and that's logical. Yeah. But once you get through that chaotic part of it, usually the dust settles and you can get into relationship, and now your kids have opinions, and now your kids have a platform, and now your kids are substantial, And so it's that, how do we get through these periods? And for me, mine was 18. I had to have those failures, because those failures really fueled the fire for me to not do that again.
Powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. Now, everyone also has, their own definition of success, Scott. What does success mean to you in both life and, your professional career?
Well, I think a lot of it comes down to it's personal. It's how you feel about it at the end of the day. It's like, for it's hard to say. It's like it's I guess reaching your potential. It's really just
yes.
trying to aspire to be the best version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's whether it be whatever, in work or sports or family or school or whatever. It's just if we aspire to be the best version of ourselves, then I think at the end of the day we're going to look back on that time and you're going to say, I am a product of many different periods, many different decisions, many different tests. I've got I don't really ask for anything. I get just socks. Give me socks on my birthday or whatever.
And remember that
this year,
Scott sucks. Scott sucks.
I love socks. So this year I was very taken back by a statue that I saw, and it's of an old man sitting down with a hammer in his right hand. And he was sitting and he was looking up, and all you could see was his open hand, just like this. And I saw that, and I go, I have to have that. Because to me, I walk by it at least 10 times a day, and I see this statue. And what the statue is he's got a hammer in his right hand, and he's holding his left hand up, and it's Moses receiving the first drop of rain. And it's called validated, so we don't know why we do the things that we do. We don't know. We step forward in faith. And for 100 years, this guy was building a boat in the middle of a place that had never seen rain before. 100 years, because God told him to do it. And I look at that, and he's receiving that first drop of rain, and it's like, there it is. And I wish that for everyone. I wish that we go through our lives and we put our heads down and we try to be the best versions of ourselves. And then we just put our hand up and just accept that validation that says my life meant something. And I used my days the best I possibly could. And I had good days. I had bad days. I had ambitious days. I had lazy days. But all of them work together to bring me to this place where I can hold my hand up and accept that first drop of rain and say, yes, I did it as well as it could be done.
I totally love your outlook on life, Scott. It's very contagious. I absolutely love
it.
Thanks. Now, in unique times like this, what is your advice or message for our listeners? I mean, we have an audience from, over 90 countries. Some places are starting to open up, some back in lockdown, and in general, people are still at home. In your view, what should people be doing right now so, they can come out a better person?
Oh, man. So much of it is, there's so much about this virus. There's so many conflicting things about it, and we could get into conspiracy theory, and I don't want to. None of that is my world at all. I do think the reason we launched Live Your Days was because I wanted to encourage people that today's a day. Find a way to allow it to make you stronger and better than you've been before. And, it's like when we got locked down, I'm a workaholic. I'm like traveling and speaking. And my April, honestly, was, can I get there in time? Is there a flight? Oh, good. So I don't have a backup, but I do have a flight. Yeah. Okay. Book it. So I had this 3-week period where I was just going to be gangbusters, and all of it went away. And I found myself sitting at the dinner table, praying and blessing the food with my children, which we never had time to do before. And I was like, thank you, Lord. I get to have my kids totally is a captive audience, and it's, there's so many, like, dear friends, were single and they were home alone, and it was just toxic and terrible, but they found ways of connecting with people, and they found ways of being busy, and they found new ways of working out. They found new ways that I have to cook tonight. There's no takeout, so I'm going to have to figure this thing out. And we created cooking events with CARES where we work with restaurants and chefs, and we shoot videos, and we, allowed people to cook at home. Meals they never would be able to do without, kind of that kind of instruction. So it's like, just use your time, use this time to shore yourself up, and pay attention, understand our times and what we're going through right now. And, put your faith, look up and understand that, Jesus is on the throne, and, man, we've got so much more authority than we give ourselves credit for. And we do that in faith, right? So, there's a lot of things I'd like to see, going differently right now. And we live in a country that's very politically insane. But, it's like, that doesn't mean whatever is going on over there, that doesn't have to show up on my kitchen table. That never, no, I decide what I let in, and I decide how I'm going to live this day. And I just really want to encourage all people to do that, because once you start just setting up your boundaries and really just focusing in on being the best version of yourself, it gives other people permission to do it as well. And I think that's what we're all looking for, is just permission and that first drop of rain that says, okay, thank you. I was right in doing this the way I did it.
Powerful words of wisdom. Just got a couple more questions, Scott. What is your legacy, and what do you want to be remembered for?
Nobody's really remembered. I mean, it's like, you can have a name in a book or anything. I just really want to do a good job of raising my kids, so that they do a good job of raising their kids, and he does a good job of raising their kids.
And
it's
going.
like, I mean, it's like, I think if we take control of, situations, and we just, mow our little corner of grass, and keep it nice. But, it's like, my name will be in a book if anybody ever remembers the Olympic Games. That'll probably go away at some point. The Olympics, it seems like a big deal, but I don't know, $1 billion nonprofit volunteer organizations tend to collapse. So who knows what's going to happen to
That's true. That's true.
Movement. Yes. But, so remembered, I don't know. I think about that all the time, and then I read the Bible, and it's like Ecclesiastes. It's like, okay, okay. So much of our spinning our wheels, and so much of our like thinking that we have to do this because we're going to create this thing, that it's dust. It really is, and so if you can be a part of allowing somebody to, kind of take in more joy in their lives. That's not a bad way to spend your time,
most definitely.
Awesome. I don't know. Remembered, awesome. I don't worry about that. I don't want to
live your days.
Like, yes. But it's like, I don't want to be the guy that says, oh man, did you see so-and-so? They did a total Hamilton. It was like that, and I'm the butt of the joke for the rest of my life, right? Like, no, I don't remember that way either. So I don't even remember.
Cool. So if you could have a billboard with anything on it, what would it be?
Oh man, live your days. It's like live your days,
Agreed.
It's like you got this.
You got. Oh, love that one. Love that one.
You got
Absolutely.
this. I mean, we need to hear that more often than not. It's like, it's okay. You got this. It's okay. You got this.
Awesome. Now, the next question, I get very interesting responses, Scott.
Let me turn this light up a little bit.
Yeah, no worries.
It's getting a little dim in here.
Cool. Oh, good. Now, the question is, if you could have a superpower, what would it be? And why?
Healing.
Oh, that's a
I'd
good
love
one.
to heal people.
Haven't had that one yet.
I have a cancer foundation, it's like when you see people succumb.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Nah, healing. That's
and we're
a really
seeing
good
a lot
one.
of that now. It's like
Yep.
people are dying of things they don't have to die of because they can't get into hospitals or just see doctors because of all the
True.
protections and all of that. And just love to heal people.
Nice. Now, totally remarkable. We have to work towards wrapping up, and super mindful of your time, Scott. Phenomenal journey, shares, and words of wisdom. Really appreciate your transparency, authenticity, and willingness to share. Just got 2 last questions. First is, where can people find out more about, yourselves, live your days, and your ventures?
We got lots of websites. It's like, I've got scotthamilton.com is where I have speaking, and I do a lot of, my personal business stuff out of there. And then scottcares.org is my cancer foundation. And we know all the help we can get. COVID has, sucked up all the air in the room, and we're really trying to get through this because more people are dying every day of cancer than anything else. And we just need to fix this problem. And then there's liveyourdays.com, which is, just a breath of fresh air every day. So I'm hoping people go and get a memento so we can fund more cancer research and take the 30-day challenge. So those are the 3. And I think they're all kind of interconnected. You can get from one to the other. So any one of those works.
Awesome. And the links will be in the show notes. So, and secondly, what parting words of wisdom would you like to impart on our listeners, Scott?
Oh man, haven't I given you enough? Well, I don't think I've got anything left. Again, it's like
you're so giving. I love it.
When I woke up in the hallway when the brain surgery didn't go well, and I was kind of crashing off the anesthesia, I was shuddering and shivering, and I was just spasming, and it was just all this. And I kept looking up at my anesthesiologist, and he's like, "We got to get in the elevator now." And all the elevators had broke down or something. Anyway, I was supposed to be in ICU, neuro ICU, and I'm in a hallway outside the surgery suite waking up from the anesthesia. And I was so cold. I mean, I was so cold. It went from shivering to shuddering and then spasming, right? And then all of a sudden in my mind came, "This too shall pass." And I just kept repeating it and repeating it and repeating it. And then the spasms went away, and then the shuddering went away, and the shivering went away. And I was able to just be still in the moment and just say to myself over and over and over again, "This too shall pass." And I had a shirt. I wear it all the time. It says, "This too shall pass." And people go, "I like your shirt." It's like, well,
yes.
No, but it's that. It's like, if just when you get at your lowest, just understand that this too shall pass.
Wow. That's one word. Wow, Scott. Now, incredible insights, learnings, and knowledge. Will be totally awesome to catch up in person one day with yourself, Scott. Absolutely love
it.
Love what you stand for. Thanks again, and really appreciate your time.
Thank you. It's great talking to you.
Likewise. All right. Hope you've enjoyed this interview. You can find me at turn-x.com and also on social media at iam.tacklee. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode. If you're enjoying this podcast, please do make sure you subscribe and take a minute to leave us a review. Thank you.
YOLO, it's our show. There's one thing we know with all our cargo. It's turn X. I hear